All right, hey there, Earth Science students. Today we're going to continue on with our notes about mapping. So the first part of this, we're going to be talking about stream flow direction and how to figure that out based on your contour map. So we got a map right here with Mill River listed right here, and we're going to try and figure out how to determine what direction this river is flowing just by looking at the map. Now, the first thing that you can do is you can take a look and you can see where the lowest elevations are going to be. So right here we have the ocean labeled. Now the ocean, as opposed to like a lake or something like that, is always going to be at 0. So if we're looking at this, we can see that if the ocean is 0, then everything else must be at a higher elevation than the ocean. Water is always going to flow downhill. So we can see that this Mill River is going to be flowing northeast into the ocean. The next clue we have is the contour lines right here. See how they bend as they go across the river? Those are going to be pointing upstream or uphill towards where the river is coming from. So those are two ways that we can take a look at our map and immediately know what direction our river is going to be flowing. So this river, like I said earlier, is going to be flowing to the northeast. So here's some other examples of this. You can see these contour lines are pointing uphill from where these rivers are flowing. You can kind of see it right here and right here. All right, another thing we got to learn how to tell the difference between on a map is whether or not we are looking at a hill or a depression. Now the first clue would obviously be the elevations, right? If the elevations are going up, then it's a hill, and if they are going down, then it's going to be a depression. But that's not the only thing. So we've got Hatcher lines, that's these lines right here. They are a special kind of line that's going to show us where a depression is or where the ground is actually going down on a landscape on a map. Hills are going to be looking like this, right? We've got these rings that we see as our hill gets narrower and narrower as we go up. All right, so there's some rules with our Hatcher lines. The first is that the first depression contour, the first Hatcher line, is going to be the same elevation as the lowest regular contour line before it. Said this a little bit more simply, those are going to repeat. So you're going to have a contour line, that's going to be one value, and then the next Hatcher line is going to be of equal value to that last contour line. The second depression, and so forth, is going to follow the same contour interval that we are looking at for the rest of our map. So if our map has a contour interval of 20 feet, it's going to continue that even with the Hatcher lines. It's not going to change. The only difference is that they're going to be decreasing as opposed to increasing. All right, next thing we're going to talk about is profiles, which are our side view of the land. So far we've been talking about topographic maps. We've been looking from top down at our topographic maps, down at our landscape. Profiles are actually looked from the side view. We're actually going to be looking from the side so we can see the differences in height, the differences in steepness, all of those things on our mountains. And I want to show you how to make a profile right now. All right, let's take a look at our topographic map here and try and make a profile along line X, Y. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scrap paper and I'm going to line it up right here just along X and Y. All right, I'm going to start by labeling X and Y. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark off each one of these contour lines or Hatcher lines as they cross my scrap paper here. So I'm going to start right here. I'll mark this one first at X. I'm going to mark this one right here. Make sure my paper is lined up properly. Put another mark right here, right there. And I'm just going to keep marking as we cut across this whole map. All right, once I have all of those lines marked where they cross my scrap paper, I'm now going to label them with the elevations. All right, 10, This one is 20. All right, this one follows that rule where it's the first hatcher line after our contour line. We'll make that one 20 as well. It's going to be the same. Now, if we look, our contour interval is going to be 10. So now I'm going to be going down for the next hatcher line as 10. And this one right here is also going to be 10 because you can see that that is the same exact line. All right, this one right over here is also going to be 20. Now this one is going to violate that rule a little bit, but I could see that it's actually labeled right here. So sometimes it's worth it to move your paper. I'll label that one 30, 40, 40, 30, and then finally, like here at Y, this is going to be 20. All right. So once I've labeled that, I'm going to move that down here to my graph. And I'm going to start to transfer these points onto this graph. So right here I've got this one already put. See how it says 10 right here? I'm going to be putting dots where these marks line up with their appropriate elevation. So I'm going to start right here with 10, and then 20. I go all the way up, and I'm going to put a dot. See how I'm kind of following it up right to where it's supposed to be, directly above it. Same goes for this one. I'm going to put it right here, follow it directly up, 20, then follow this one up to 10, this one to 10, 20, follow this one up to 30, then I'm following it up to 40, 40, 30, and then finally 20 is already right there. Now you can even, if you want, slide your paper up and kind of check and see that you got them in the right spots. See how they match up as I move my paper up and down. All right, looks like those are all in the right spots. So now I need to connect these lines. So I've got to look at my just general kind of flow of how this is working and connect all these dots. I'm going to start here at X. Now I know, looking at that this was going up, and now I'm going to go a little bit higher than my line and then reconnect there. We want to have like these nice kind of rounded shapes on here. Now I cannot go above the next line, so I have to kind of split the difference, do somewhere in between. It doesn't matter exactly where you do this in between, just as long as it's a nice rounded hill and I see separation from this line and that line. So I'm going to do that at the tops of my hills, at the bottom of my valleys and depressions as well. So see, connect, connect, and then I'm going to connect over here, and then finally right there at the end. So now I got a nice smooth line connecting all my dots, and I can clearly see space in between our lines right here and the line above it. We don't want to, flatten off the tops of these hills. We also don't want to go too high so that you go past the next contour line. So kind of just split the difference somewhere in between. And that is how you make a profile.
All right, that does it for mapping. On to the next unit.